So, uh, mm, I know this happened almost mm, 2 weeks ago, but I thought I would just give my thoughts on it in a reaction video about uh, Alabama's coaching hire mm, to try to replace uh, Nick Saban. And of course, I said in my video about his retirement that he can't be replaced, but uh, I'll talk about uh, the hire that they made. Uh, and first of all, it is not uh, Coach Prime, uh, and he was never even a possibility to go to Alabama, and he never would go to Alabama. He'd never get hired there. Mm, and uh, he would have run that program into the garbage can. And if he was going to be an SEC coach, mm, he'd have to go to Vanderbilt because they're already used to losing over there. Mm, I was mm, at the game this past season where Ole Miss gave them a big beating. So mm, I don't think mm, Alabama's in any danger of becoming like Vanderbilt anytime soon. They hired Kalen DeBoer, who was head coach of Washington before now, and mm, there are some hires that, of course, you can never be sure before a hire is made that it's going to work out or not work out. But there are some hires to where you're just like 99% sure when you hear about them that uh, that's a terrible hire and mm, they're going to fail and get fired in just a couple of years. And uh, there are some hires where you hear about it and are just 99% sure that this hire is going to work well. Uh, it was the perfect hire. Mm, and this hire, uh, to me, is neither of those. It's actually somewhere in between. And I could see it going either of those ways. Mm, so, uh, first of all, mm, I'll tell you the good things about this hire. Of course, when I say good, uh, of course, there's nothing good about it compared to what Alabama did have with Nick Saban. But the good things about DeBoer is I think he actually is a good coach for real. Uh, mm, and mm, I had never heard of him before he took the Washington job, which wasn't that long ago, but he was there these last 2 seasons and uh, had two really good seasons and went 25-3, and he's been one of the best coaches these last couple of seasons. Mm, and Washington the year before they hired him, it went 4-8, and uh, uh, his first year there, he got them to 11-2. Mm, And of course, this past season they were 14-1 and played in the national championship game. And uh, mm, mm, he hasn't had the most talented teams at Washington. Like uh, mm, this past season, Texas was a more talented team than Washington was, but mm, he was able to outcoach Sarkeesian in the playoff game to beat them. Mm, mm, uh, so mm, mm, I think that mm, he is a really good on the field coach. But mm, some bad news with this is mm, you can't be sure it's gonna work just because he's a good coach because uh, uh, there are a lot of good coaches out there that would not be good fits for any school. And mm, Kalen DeBoer is from the Northwest, and that's a big change going from the Northwest over to the SEC. So uh, we'll see how that works out. Uh, and mm, mm, he's uh, not been that good of a recruiter either. Washington didn't recruit very well when he was head coach there, even though they were winning a lot of games. And Nick Saban was the best recruiter uh, there has ever been, and recruiting is a big part of being a good head coach. And mm, 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 Alabama, I know they've been the best program uh, mm, for so long now, but uh, it's not just because they're Alabama. That was because of Nick Saban being there. Alabama is not uh, a place where a lot of uh, high school football talent comes from. Mm, uh, the most talented high school players come from the states of Texas, Florida, and California. And Alabama was able to get so many of the players from there for two reasons. One is Nick Saban was such a good recruiter, and two, he was such a good coach that they wanted to go over there to play for him. Those players didn't go over there just because they wanted to go to school at the University of Alabama. Mm, And mm, I don't really think they're going to be able to get uh, as many good players with DeBoer coaching than they were with Saban uh, mm, coaching. Mm, And uh, if you're someone that is thinking that uh, mm, Nick Saban is old, so uh, Alabama needed him to retire, so uh, they could get someone younger to be their coach. You're crazy because Mm, mm. Nick Saban, at the end of his career, won the SEC and was just short of winning it all. Mm, And in his last season, right before it, he had his best recruiting class there ever. And not just uh, the best recruiting class that Alabama has ever had, but the best recruiting class that any team has ever had. Mm, And when Nick Saban was there, Alabama always recruited pretty much in the top two. They were number one a whole lot. So that's going to go down, I think. Mm, And mm, uh, Alabama is uh, always lost a lot of talent to the NFL every year. They do this year too, but before you could just think, well, they still have Nick Saban there, so they'll be fine. They'll have so much new talent, Mm, but that I don't think will be how it is now because they don't have them anymore. Mm, mm, And of course, Alabama has a lot of players leaving, like Caleb Downs, Caden Proctor, and Isaiah Bond, which are big losses. Mm, and then they've also got uh, uh, some young players that didn't really play much last year, but we're going to play more this year, leaving too. Mm, And they're also losing their center too. Mm, and I don't think they'll be able to uh, replace all those losses as well now. Mm, and uh, those players aren't just leaving because it's Nick Saban that was the coach. Uh, is a normal thing for players to leave if they lose their head coach because that's who they wanted to play for. But mm, uh, I do think that Alabama is going to be worse than they were last year. This year. And if Nick Saban had stayed, I think that they would have won the whole thing this year. I don't think anyone would have stopped them. Mm, But now, don't be surprised if Alabama this fall has their worst season in over a decade and they lose 3 games. Mm, mm. So, mm, mm. I mm, think that uh, this hire uh, uh, won't really fall apart uh, uh, immediately, mm, and I think that Alabama will have to give them some time uh, to do well with all that they're uh, mm, losing. But I think that at least for a while they'll stay a good team. Mm, And mm, if it does fall apart badly fast and uh, DeBoer gets fired, I do think that Alabama will come to Nick Saban with a whole lot of money offering him uh, mm, uh, and begging him to come back uh, out of retirement. And mm, mm, I don't know if he would come back or not. But I know he's old and worn out from coaching. Uh, but when you've been doing something for so long, like he has with coaching, he'll probably uh, pretty soon, at least somewhat, start to miss it. So I wouldn't be shocked if he did want to come back if this hire fails. Mm, but Alabama can't count on him to save them if things fail with DeBoer. Mm, And Nick Saban, I saw is becoming an advisor to the football team, so he's still going to be around to help mm, out, and that's a good thing. But mm, he's still not going to be the head coach. Coaching the games. So it's still mm, uh, not gonna be mm, the same. Mm, and that will mm, be about it with this video. You can let me know how you feel about this hire in the comments, and please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching.